When you don't have welfare, where does money go? Sometimes it goes towards presumed immediate needs. Sometimes it goes towards wealth and investment. One of the worst things that welfare has done is it has taken away capital accumulation from young men. What do young men normally do? They start factories. They start small businesses. They go into industries that compete with corporations, and they're able to do that, but they need that wealth accumulation. Their role is destroyed by welfare and immediately given to other people, and it has destroyed what young men do. So of course they fucking check out and play video games and work a 9 to 5.
So welfare is a component, I suppose, but the issue is largely the regulatory nature of the country.
Oh, for sure.
The capital requirements to start a business.
For sure.
And the structures as of right now. An 18-year-old is not going to be able to stake a plot of land and create a farm. He's not going to be able to do anything, actually, because he's competing with older, more skilled people. He's competing with literally everybody. Mm-hmm. So what do we end up seeing?
Welfare. This is welfare.
Welfare is just one piece of the big picture.
But when we look at inflation...
Idiot! Scott! Jesus, I love you.
He was looking at me. I was going to answer. Okay. I was so excited because I have the answers.
I know. But here's
all of them. All of them, brother. All of them.
We all have the answers, okay? So the thing about this is, number one, we do live in a democratic republic. Women do have representation. They're not going to be interested in stopping the way that they're voting anytime soon. This is oftentimes my problem.
Yeah, sure, that's not an argument.
No, it is. Obviously, it's important. We're talking about ideology and shoulds. One of the shoulds that you should consider is whether or not you would be able to affect society sufficiently.
It's not an argument about whether or not this is what
it's an appeal to pragmatism. Please let me finish.
That's not an argument.
Yes, it is. It literally is.
It really is.
Yeah, it really is. So anyways, the point is that if left-leaning people are going to continue voting the way that they're going to vote, it doesn't matter if you say we need to eliminate the welfare, we need to eliminate the power of the federal state. It's not going to happen. Okay, it's not going to happen. And so the question is, what do we do now? And the truth is that I think that even if you got what you wanted, which was like the evaporation of the welfare state, I still don't think that you would see the pro-social benefits that you're looking for because of the three other things that we mentioned: the industrial, sexual, and information revolution. And so now I'm talking about pragmatic solutions. When we're talking about pragmatic solutions, I hope that Valor Media Network, the people that I represent, are a part of the solution, which is that
you represent so many leftist organizations these days. Is that another one?
Well, they're liberals, but anyways,
I know you got paid by Progressive Victory and a bunch of other people. Don't keep hawking your shit, or I'm going to attack you for the fact that you take money from leftists. Calm down, brother.
Listen, man, I've never made it a hidden thing that I am a never Trumper. Okay,
I want to highlight one quick thing.
Sorry, your point. Yeah, and it's a very simple point. Iron sharpens iron. Men sharpen men. So we need to get together. We need to get our stuff together. We need to have these complex conversations, and we need to push each other to be better. And we need to help those 18 to 30-year-old men who are virgins right now.
Pragmatic solutions aside, that is not an argument as to whether or not did this thing cause this thing. So we've completely gone away from that argument.
We have a big functional problem in one of the things that came up in the debate was welfare, the modern woman. Women overwhelmingly vote towards the left. Yeah. And I think there's, as you mentioned, they sympathize and men systematize. And so women take the approach of, we want to be protected. One argument made by many people is that they've effectively replaced the role of men with the state.
Yes.
So, however, that does create an interesting conundrum. Men allowed the women to vote, essentially. And I don't mean to say that they had the right to restrict it in the first place. I'm saying that with women's suffrage, the men who are running the country could have simply said, nope. But they decided, no, women should vote. Here's the problem I have with the system we're currently in. If we were to remove all technologies, dating apps, industrialization, then all of these issues are solved. Certainly 50 billion new problems emerge. Right. You stub your toe and you die of sepsis.
Right, yeah, of course.
Thank you.
But in a society like that, where we live in the wilderness in little mud huts, women are largely going to defer to the men because the risks. These psychological tendencies have not gone away. They've just industrialized themselves to the point where women overwhelmingly right now are voting to send men to die. So with the current state,
yes,
it is true. The female vote tends to be exceedingly pro-war, and they themselves are exempt from the consequences of what those wars would be.
So, well, at first.
Certainly, but the argument is it's fine to vote in favor of war because I'm not on the front line. The men will have to die before I do.
True.
And so the argument still is women rely on men for protection to maintain the society. But with voting power, the women can collectivize and then force the men to do things that men may not naturally do.
There's a Socratic quote about that. It's a gentleman. Sorry, it's a brief aside, but basically like a very powerful, wealthy, strong warrior gentleman in ancient Greece is talking smack about how democracy is the rule of the weak, and then Socrates or Plato, I forget who, but he basically rebuts. It's like, okay, well, if the weak bound together in order to become something stronger than you, then are we not still living in a society where effectively the strong are still ruling?
Indeed.
And so that's part of the reason why I'm not a Democrat, even though I'm temporarily working for Democrats because I hate Trump so much. But the point is, I'm not philosophically a Democrat because I think the average person, no offense to the Democrats in the audience, but they're mostly stupid. The average person is a moron.
I take issue with currently this is a problem. I believe that women should have the right to vote so long as they have equal responsibilities in society.
Selective service. So that's literally what I was going to say is that a lot of women joke about this, but I think that this would be actually, if we deem this a societal problem, I think this should be a thing. If we see consistently that women disproportionately vote for war for men to go die overseas or whatever, then I think that we need to make selective service equal, where all women over the age of 18 have selective service, because the truth is, you see TikToks all the time about gay men and women or whatever, when they're like, oh, when the draft comes up, I'm going to pretend that I'm something, right, blah, 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 blah. So I avoid war. But I want to bring this up because I think it's important. It's actually the heart of the conversation. Fabian, you're saying that the protect and provide role has been eliminated for young men. Okay.
Not
eliminated.
entirely.
It's substantively muted.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So here's the thing. When it comes to protection, protection involves a lot of things for young men. If you are not physically fit, if you don't have any cardiovascular ability, then nobody's going to trust you to protect them. If you are not capable of knowing the laws and knowing how to operate a firearm and knowing how to conduct yourself in like a hectic environment, then you're not going to be able to protect anyone.
Okay.
And I think that women subconsciously read on that. So what I would do if somebody gave me $1 million is I would literally create a program for young men to do for free, in which we train them how to be physically fit, how to conduct themselves in security situations, how to conduct themselves during a mass shooting, how to do basic first aid, and how to operate firearms. I 100% would throw myself behind an educational effort in order to get young men educated on those topics. When it comes to provide, which protect could be partially financial as well, I'm just going to say we're fudged. So I think that we are at a crossroads in neoliberal economics and the welfare state, where male workers, middle class and working class males, have effectively had every dollar that they can make squeezed out of them, and you cannot bleed a stone. But I wouldn't put that solely on the state. I would also put that on the corporations, who also do very nefarious things to squeeze every ounce of productivity out of their peons while not giving them a living standard.
So let me respond to this. I don't know why I said that. Obviously, I'm going to respond to it.
Yeah.
Fucking word
It's
filler.
all good. We're
Word
getting into it.
filler
We're like
sometimes.
90 minutes in.
So I think there's you had talked about Tim Pool, right? You had talked about the concept of like collectivizing, their control and of like resources and redistributing resources as they vote for the left. There's a few problems here. One is that your average woman, as much as your average man, being dumb, right? They don't know that. Right? Like your average woman doesn't recognize that the entire system of the state is built to give her wealth and to give her security. They think men and women are equal because they've been told, bullshit about equality and equity, right? And they don't realize that like divorce laws are in their favor, family court laws are in their favor. You have literal politicians coming out and saying that like, how dare men sit on their couch and play video games? These welfare systems are built for single moms. It's like, fucking what? Like, what do you mean? Like, well, like, why ought young men be bled so that single moms can be able to, because the children, et cetera. But they're no longer connected to it. See, here, this is where it really gets down to the philosophy of what is a sacrifice and why that is such a meaningful difference between Social Security and like fraternal order societies, is that sacrifice is evil. Altruism is evil. Okay, it is absolutely evil when someone tells you that you need to give up what you have not because you value something or that you value a person, be it your grandmother, your friend, someone that you know is on hard times, but because it is your moral duty to give up what you have earned and what you value for the better of society. It is the most evil thing that a person can say. It is the entire thesis of Atlas Shrugged. The idea that you must give up for welfare because poor people exist or because Africans have AIDS somewhere is evil.
Why? What the hell are you talking about?
Because you are sacrificing what it is that you value, what you care about, what you as a reasoned man have achieved through your success as the ability to be able to shape your world and your universe and your property for an amorphous person that you have absolutely no value or understanding of.
They're not amorphous. They're real flesh and blood human beings.
If they're real flesh and blood human beings and you value them, then absolutely. That's what fraternal order societies do. That's why we have the incentive structure of welfare it destroys work, it destroys value.
You just took like a really bold stance that I think we need to unpack.
Absolutely.
Okay? So
I will defend libertarian ideas and Ayn Rand. Absolutely.
Until you die, and it's going to be very frustrating. So hold on. So evil, to me, there's bad and there's evil. Okay, bad is negative consequence. Evil is knowing there will be negative consequence.
Absolutely.
And then continuing down that path. Anyways.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, cool. Now, I'm probably evil from your regard, but I don't view myself as evil. Okay,
I'm not saying the totality of you as a person is evil, right?
Sure.
I'm saying when you say
actions or my advocacy,
that advocacy for that action is an evil act.
Things that are evil. Okay, so hold on. You said, why ought young men be bled? You know, that is evil, and why must they give themselves to these broader institutions that they don't understand? The part of that I actually agree with is I think the modern institutions have done a terrible job. I cannot overstate this. Justifying the American commercial empire, justifying internationalism, justifying foreign war, justifying welfare. I think that our states have done almost no work whatsoever justifying the social institutions that presently exist to the next generation that must perpetuate them. And therefore, this entire generation of young men are saying, why? Why do I have to die in the Middle East and North Africa? Why do I have to be a part of selective service? Why do I have to work at Publix for Publix is a grocery chain? Why do I have to work for $10 an hour, have 15% of my check taken when I could just sit at home, goof off, and play video games and smoke pot and just do nothing, right? I understand why young men are saying why, but the truth is that I don't think that like suffering or sacrifice or altruism, for these institutions is bad. I think that you need to give them purpose. You need to give them a mission. You need to tell them why the United States is good, why freedom of conscience, why freedom of speech, why the Second Amendment, why the Fourth Amendment, why limited government is good, and you need to justify that effectively through propaganda.
Well, okay, hold on, you're selling. Okay, first of all, let's dispense with all of the things. Sorry, I'll get closer. Dispense of all the things that have nothing to do with welfare, like Second Amendment, First Amendment, and not actually on the topic. When you were saying we need to sell foreign wars and we need to sell your money and your ability to accumulate.
You want your computer, right?
Better so that we can give.
You want microchips, right?
No, that's like
you want Funko Pops, right?
No,
actually, Funko Pops aren't doing too well.
Listen, people turn to those things. People turn towards materialism when you create a culture via the state and via Social Security and welfare of high time preference. When you take away resource accumulation and instead supplant it with capital accumulation, instead supplant it with capital consumption, right? You create a group of people that is materialistic, that just wants to buy the Funko Pop and the PlayStation, that doesn't have hopes of buying a home because every successive generation has destroyed the fucking market via asset inflation and Social Security, and we're $37 trillion of debt. Like, they have no purpose, and it's not because you haven't sold them a good enough purpose. It's because you're stealing their future.
Okay.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.